Hey, it's John and Mike, brew-dudes.com, and today we're drinking one of my beers. This is the 2016 Harvest Ale. Why is it a Harvest Ale? Because I home grow hops. And this has a collection of hops that I've grown not only in my backyard, but my brother's backyard. You might have remembered from last year, we had a big fresh hop ale thing. We might link to it right here. Anyway, so this was more, I dried the hops and put them in. There's a ton of things that are happening in this beer. Number one, we used one of the White Labs archive, or I'm sorry, the Vault strains. This is Hansen Ale strain. It's a combination of American and English. It's supposed to have great attenuation and fluctuation. So this should be very clear. This has been in the bottle for 2 weeks. I actually bottled this and surprised, good clarity.
It's got good clarity. It's got subtle cloudiness to it.
Yeah, and I still think
but
that
you can still see through it.
It might be because there's a lot of hops in it.
Sure.
And then the second thing is use distilled water and built up my water chemistry with some gypsum in there. See if I could do some magical things with water chemistry, building out from distilled water. So, Michael, since you had a couple of sips, my goodness, let me know what you think. What's going on with this?
Well, the first sip, I'm going to skip over the aroma, because the first sip, the hop expression, the hop presence here for homegrown hops, is divine. It's divine.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
There's a beautiful hop flavor and a subtle bitterness here. I remember last year the hops were kind of muted and not very strong in their presence. But this year, despite the really weird growing year that we had for stuff and really shitty weather for growing stuff, your hops came through pretty well here. I mean, it's not super bitter, but there's enough bitterness. But then there's like a nice fruity, but not like a sweet fruity, and an earthy. There's like a subtle fruit, but earthy hop flavor, which I find to be so well balanced.
Well, I think that's what we are able to grow here. In the great Northeast. And as I brought this to work, and I told people, like, yeah, I'm using my own hops here, and I used a lot of them, but you got to remember, we're not in the Pacific Northwest. And also the varieties that we grew. I mean, with the I would say Chinook is probably the closest one to get that, what we are used to in American hop flavor and aroma. That's the one variety we had that I put in here. But again, it's more of, to me, it's very earthy. I got some cinnamon that came out of here a little bit.
That's a good descriptor.
It's like earthy and, maybe a little floral, but
it's like an earthy spiciness. Yeah, that's great.
So there you go.
It's interesting. So there's also very little, if any, chloride in this water, right?
That's correct, because all I used was gypsum. So I'll tell you a little about the schedule in which I put some in. So I mash typically with 4 gallons of water, no matter, if I'm making a typical batch, meaning like if I have a between 14 to 10 pounds in my grain bill for a 5-gallon batch, I'm usually just mashing with 4 gallons. That's what I do. So I put in 4 grams of gypsum into that, and then I batch sparge. So I warmed up my my sparge water to 170 degrees and put in another 5 grams into that water. So was able to take first runnings, put that in a cooler, and then pour over my 170 degrees Fahrenheit water with 5 grams of gypsum on top of that, and then collect enough for 7.5 total gallons for the boil. And then I put in 3 more grams into the boil.
Okay,
so 12 grams
12 grams
total.
of gypsum.
Yes.
Into a distilled water, so a total just empty water.
Yes. Nothing.
Now, with your 4 grams in the mash, did you use a calculator to ballpark what like did you target pH, or were you just solely targeting a ppm of calcium,
That's exactly right.
of sulfate?
Yes.
Okay.
The calcium to sulfate ratio.
So you have no precognition whatsoever as to what your mash pH was going to be or what it was, and this is the beer you got out of it.
That's what I got out of it.
Screw fucking water chemistry, man. This is tremendous. You know the funny thing? So here's the thing.
Okay.
I've heard it said before, and I love this saying. Malt wants to become beer.
Yeah.
You put it in water, 9 times out of 10, even like people like Martin Brewingard, who has like a big spreadsheet, a couple other water people, even if you just put it all together, it's going to actually come in fairly close to the proper pH, and so your mash is going to happen. I mean, this beer is light and crisp, the body's there. I assume you had a good finish in gravity, right?
Yep, about 10-10.
It's not, the cloudiness is possibly from hops, it's possibly from just the yeast need to settle out a little bit more.
Yeah.
But there's not like a mash problem here. There's no like starchiness, there's none of that going on there. And even the interesting thing, for 12 grams of sulfate, of calcium sulfate in here, I wouldn't classify this as being terribly minerally.
I think there's a little bit that I get that on the tongue, but
a little bit. But you would have to tell me there was 12 grams of gyps in here for me to go, oh yeah, I think I taste that. But it's
yeah,
it's not like overly minerally, which
Yep.
is interesting because my first attempt a few beers ago with one of those Galaxy Pale Ales with distilled water, I brought out some sort of weird vegetal thing, and I felt like it's because I didn't have enough chloride in there maybe to balance. But you've got 0 chloride in here, and it's working pretty well.
So I think those are the... So
You should just write a 1-page water chemistry book that says
1 page.
water, malt,
That includes
just,
the cover?
yeah, and the cover. Well,
Holy
you need
crap.
a picture. You need a nice picture on the cover.
All right.
No, this is fantastic. I think it really speaks to the need to relax a little bit, have a goal in mind,
Yeah.
and go for it. And I think with water salts, you need to think about it almost like cooking, and it's a seasoning, right?
Right.
And if you think of it that way, you don't stretch yourself over the chemistry of it,
Yep.
you can still get to the result,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
There's multiple ways to get to this point, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And what matters is that the beer tastes good in the end, not so much all the chemistry or all the biology or all the weird stuff going into it. Man, okay, that's enough of my diatribe. This is fantastic. It's just fantastic that this is what we've ended up with. Homegrown hops, first of all, homegrown hops. You should just call this unconventional harvest lager. I mean, screw
Super.
convention.
And
This
I
is great.
tried to get it balanced, so I want to talk about the grain bill. This has an English...
There were grains in here too?
Yes, an English pale malt. I forgot. That's why I wish I brought my notebook. It was either Optic or Pearl or one of those fancy English malts. It's not Maris Otter. It's one of those other ones.
Flake barley?
No. Carastan.
Carastan!
A pound of Carastan in a 5-gallon batch.
A pound of Carastan.
And a pound of
tremendous.
Carapils.
So Carastan is like a
try to get a nice
35 love
Yeah.
English crystal type
Yeah,
of
I'll
malt.
take
But
a
it's
look
not a traditional crystal malt. It's a very special...
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, 'cause
Carastan. I love Carastan and
wanted
like English
toffee
bitters and
in
stuff.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I get much of that type of flavor, but the Carastan is definitely giving you
I wanted
a supporting body
Yeah.
and a depth of malt character that
On some
isn't
tastes,
super
I get
strong. But
some cracker from the base malt,
Yeah.
but I was trying to just get some of that. Those lower Lavabon caramel malts have kind of a sweeter, rather than like a dark candy sugar taste. It's like more of a kind of a light sweeter.
look at that foam retention on this thing.
That's a pound of Carapils in that thing, man. That's what
tremendous.
I was trying to do for that. So I just wanted. Okay, so you talk about plans. Like, let's talk high level, 40,000 view. That's what they say in the marketing world. I wanted to have fall in a glass, autumn in a glass, and that's where I started. So I'm like, I want that color, I want that head, and I want to use things I grew in my backyard, and I want
How much eggplant's in this?
no eggplant and no tomatoes and no dillweed.
Eggplant
either.
beer coming up.
That could be something.
AB InBev wants to know about
That's
eggplant
right.
beers.
Let's hashtag cucumber stout. Come on, everybody, cucumber stout. But that's what I wanted to do. So
Yes.
that's what I have. Now, if you stuck through this whole video, you have a special chance to get a bottle of this sent to your home.
Can I get a bottle?
I have plenty. You and I can share. But if you are watching right now, we'll take the first 5 people who email us at dudes@brew-dudes.com. Just raise your hand, email us, give me your address, and I will send you a 12-ounce bottle of this 2016 Harvest Ale. Everything we've described will be yours in the matter of a few days, tracked by either FedEx or UPS.
And you can show your friends that you don't need to know the alpha acid number of your homegrown hops.
No, you don't. Yep, you
You don't need a fancy spreadsheet for
or your
water
mash pH
calculations.
or whatever. Yeah.
Did you even use a mash tun for this?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I always
I
use
don't know.
mash tun,
I don't know.
but I use the
There's
calculator.
like hydroponic beer or something. You just kind of.
Well, let's see. But no, I mean, I think if you want to try it out, and also this is Hansen Ale, if you wanted to, like, I don't know, culture the dregs of this 12 ounce.
I think that's where maybe some of the fruity ester is coming from. It's
maybe.
the English side of it.
Maybe.
Cool.
Could be.
Cool. So cool.
So, did a lot of things here. So if you want in on it, please email us at dudes@brew-dudes.com.
Get some of this.
And we'll send it off. First 5 people, so please do that. All
This
right.
is the type of beer that makes you cry.
I-
This is a transcendent experience. I'm very happy. I'm just gonna.
Wow.
This is great.
He's going to
This
cry.
is great.
All right, for John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. Brew on.
Cheers.
He's beside himself.